After 13 long years apart, fate didn't just bring them back. It forced them to face every lie, every wound, and every secret that tore them apart once before. This time, neither of them will let go. But when love returns with shadows of the past, will forgiveness be enough? 13 years. That's how long it had been since I last saw her face, since I last heard her laugh echo in the corridors of my heart like an unfinished melody that never faded. I used to believe time heals everything, but when I stood at the gates of St. Augustine's orphanage, watching her step out of a silver car, dressed in the same serenity that once destroyed me, I realized time doesn't heal, it hides. And fate? Fate doesn't forget. It waits for its cruel cue to strike again. Her name was Elena Moritz, once the light in my dark world, and I was Adrian Vale, the orphan boy who had nothing but dreams until she gave me love and then took it away with silence. The last time I saw her, she was crying on that rain-drenched bridge, begging me to leave before her father's men found us. I didn't listen. I stayed. And that night, I was arrested for a crime I didn't commit, the murder of her father. She vanished. I rotted behind bars, clinging to the ghost of her promise. I'll come back for you. But promises, like hearts, break easily. 13 years later, I walked out of prison stripped of everything: my name, my music, my soul. I had once been a pianist, known for turning pain into symphonies. But after prison, my fingers trembled, haunted by the memory of gunfire and betrayal. I wanted nothing but quiet, yet fate had other plans. The orphanage I visited that day wasn't random. It was part of my community service program. What I didn't know was that Elena, my Elena, was now the chairwoman of the same foundation, raising funds for children whose parents were gone, just like mine. When our eyes met across the courtyard, the world seemed to stop. Her gaze froze, lips parted in disbelief, tears glimmering like shattered glass. I should have walked away, but she whispered, "Adrian, you're alive." Alive? No, I was barely breathing, but hearing her say my name again, it pulled every piece of me back to life. She tried to explain, said she never meant for any of it to happen, that the night her father died, someone else pulled the trigger. She had tried to clear my name, but her stepbrother, Damien, had forced her into silence. Damien, who had inherited her father's empire, controlled her with power, money, and secrets too dangerous to speak aloud. And now, Damien was running for office, a man of virtue to the world, but a devil in the dark. Elena had been living under his shadow all these years, caring for the children he used as a shield to cleanse his sins. I wanted to hate her for letting me rot in hell, but when she broke down, confessing that she had lost our child, the one she never told me about, every ounce of anger dissolved into something deeper than pain. A child. Ours. She said the baby was stillborn, but something in her trembling eyes told me she wasn't sure. That night, as we stood in the orphanage chapel under the flickering candlelight, she handed me an old silver locket, engraved with an A and an E. Inside was a photo of a baby boy, alive. "I think he's still out there," she whispered, but Damien told me he died. The air froze around us. My heart stopped. 13 years of grief suddenly turned into one desperate mission to find the truth. The next days unfolded like a thriller written by fate itself. Clues led us into the ruins of her father's old mansion, now abandoned, where we discovered medical records, falsified birth certificates, and a name that chilled me to the bone: Elias, adopted through a private agency, the same Elias who now played piano at the orphanage every Sunday, the same boy I'd unknowingly mentored the day I first arrived. My son, my blood, my music. He looked just like me, with Elena's eyes. When realization struck, my knees gave way. But before I could tell her, Damien's men surrounded the place. They had been watching her, watching me. "You should have stayed dead, Adrian," Damien sneered as he stepped out of the shadows, gun glinting under the chandelier. "You had your chance to disappear." The gun fired. Chaos erupted. I threw myself in front of Elena, the bullet grazing my arm. But in that moment, Elias appeared, frozen in fear, calling out, "Mom!" The word hit Damien like a curse. He hesitated, and that hesitation gave me the chance to fight back. I lunged at him, years of rage erupting like fire, pinning him to the ground. "You took everything from me." "Not this time." In the struggle, his gun went off again. But this time, it wasn't me who fell. Damien stumbled back, blood blooming across his chest, eyes wide in shock as he collapsed beside the broken piano he once destroyed. Silence. Police sirens wailed in the distance. And for the first time, I didn't run. Elena fell into my arms, sobbing as the truth unraveled. Damien had killed her father, framed me to take control of the empire, and staged the child's death to keep her bound to him. The detective confirmed what we'd feared and hoped. Elias was indeed our son. He had been hidden, transferred between orphanages, until Elena unknowingly founded the very one where he ended up. Fate hadn't been cruel. It had been poetic. It had kept us circling each other until the truth could no longer hide. In the aftermath, justice came slowly. Damien's crimes filled the headlines. The Veil name was cleared. I played the piano again, for the first time in 13 years. On the orphanage stage, my son sitting beside me, Elena watching with tears streaming down her face. The melody was the same unfinished one I had written the night before my arrest, the one she used to hum in her sleep. But this time, it had an ending. A new one, born of forgiveness, pain, and love reborn. When I finished, Elena walked up to me, trembling but smiling, and whispered, "I told you I'd come back for you." And I said, "This time, I'm never letting you go." Months passed, and our lives began again. Simpler, quieter, but real. Sometimes, when the sun set behind the orphanage walls, we would sit by the window with Elias between us, listening to the wind, the echo of our shared past finally fading into peace. Yet even now, there are nights I wake up, heart racing, haunted by that bridge, that moment she vanished, the years we lost. But then, I hear her whisper in the dark, "We're here now, Adrian. That's all that matters." And I realize, fate didn't give us a second chance. It gave us a miracle disguised as pain. Because sometimes, love doesn't return when you're ready. It returns when it's meant to heal. And when it does, no force on earth can tear it apart again. 13 years apart, they were destined to meet again, but destiny had one last secret to reveal. Subscribe for more English dub emotional thriller love stories. Every story will break your heart and put it back together again.